Hello everyone, I am Max Wood and I do economics with a year abroad and I'm about to go into my final year at Bristol.
Hi, my name's Delilah. I'm a third year student and I'm studying Spanish.
Hi, my name's Harald Lummis. I study French at University of Bristol. I've just finished early my year abroad in Paris.
My name is Rhianna. I study French single honours. I actually chose to do a work placement in Lyon, in France. I was teaching young French children English.
With this university called ESCA, it meant I got to do a semester in Paris and then a semester in Shanghai.
I was doing a British Council teaching assistantship in Spain, in the region of Valencia.
I chose to do a work placement in a model agency for TB1, really relying on my TB2 placement being the one that I was a lot more passionate about.
I got on with all my colleagues, the job was really fun, and so yeah, it was great.
The most incredible experience ever.
It's really an experience that's definitely changed my life.
My time in Paris was just amazing. I absolutely loved living there and I really improved my French while I was there as well. I only got a taste of what real life in Shanghai was like because I went into lockdown very early over there and then made the decision to come home in March.
I first started getting concerned about the situation probably mid-March, which was like just before I left.
My first reaction was definitely to stay in France. Actually seemed quite relaxed up until about early March.
We had a post-fashion week party and loads of my colleagues didn't go because loads of the models that were going to be there had just come back from Milan where there were loads of cases. Thought people were being ridiculous, but obviously they were correct.
I got to China on the 2nd of January and I fully settled in, was playing football with my friends, had sorted out a gym membership, a bank, started to like properly live the life, going to the clubs as well. And then we went on holiday for the Chinese New Year with the university. That got cut short because the next city we were going to already went into lockdown. We had to go back to Shanghai where we then entered lockdown. So literally from the start of February, I've been living this lockdown life.
I don't really do nights out and things, like I don't really go to bars and clubs that much. So so I was not in bars and clubs right up until I left. But then equally, I wasn't sort of actively trying to limit my activity until literally the week before I left.
It wasn't as strict as it is here. There were some restaurants open and like 1 or 2 bars. It was different because you had to sign your name, where you lived, your phone number, and they also checked your temperatures everywhere you went, and you had to wear masks. And then if someone in that location had contracted the virus, they would let everybody know.
The British media was not on the same level as the French media at the time. Cases went up first in France before it did in the UK, and I think the UK's attitude has been different about it, especially at the beginning. It was kind of just like as if it wasn't happening so much there. It didn't seem like the UK was making the same effort, so that's why I think part of me was kind of just like a little bit more chill.
The virus started in China. Everything was so new when we were going through it out there. The news coverage was very odd for me because I would get the British news, but only with my VPN, and then the internet was poor, so it wasn't like I had easy access to it. I was getting most of my news through WeChat, which is like the Chinese WhatsApp, so literally just from group chats, as I couldn't read any of the Chinese media.
For my TB2 placement, going to be in sort of like a startup app. There was a bit like Airbnb, and it would be in like creative writing and a bit kind of like journalism-y, which is what I really want to do. I had the interview and I thought it went quite well, and then for ages I didn't hear back from him. And then a couple of days before the lockdown, I got an email saying, yeah, we're sorry, but you're not going to get it, and nobody is. We were going to pick you because we're in tourism sector. It's over, like we've gone bust.
I found it was quite important to keep on top of news sources from Britain and from Spain. From the get-go, there's a lot of coverage. Some of it was fairly sort of sensationalised. British news sources, which were, there was slightly less coverage. The tone of it was slightly more calm.
And on my last day, I remember some people didn't even give me a hug to say goodbye because they didn't want to touch. And I literally got one of the last flights out, like one of the last like main passenger flights. So that was a really scary moment. I felt like I was in a film. It's like Escape from France. I sent emails out to my friends, like some old colleagues and stuff, and I was like, I'll be back in 2 weeks, it's fine. Here I am, like 2 months later.
Parents called me and they said, you need to come home. It's bad here. It's going to get bad in France. Bristol have honestly been amazing. They would respect my choice of what decision I made. They would tell me that they were here for me if I needed anything.
They kept emailing me weekly just to check in and see how I was doing. And then once I made the decision to come home, they were very supportive of that, and they even paid for my flight, which was very nice.
It was a really difficult decision to make. Maybe slightly more rational side of me decided to come home, and ultimately I'm glad that I did.
Having spent 7 months in different countries, the most I've changed so far, like developed as a person. So to then come back into this environment has been extremely hard to adapt to.
You've lived on your own for a long period of time, by your own rules, your own timeline, your own schedule. It's always a tiny bit tricky when you come back to family life to try and not give up some of that independence, but compromise.
It's strange because I left going to China anticipating to spend the longest time away from my family that I'd ever experienced, and as well with the time difference and the internet issues, that it was going to be completely different. And instead, I'm now experiencing the opposite of that, with the longest time I've ever spent with my family since I was a kid. And that's very strange. Obviously, it's not what I was anticipating, but I think you've got to look at the positive, and I probably won't ever get to spend this long with my family. And even if people can get on your nerves sometimes, try and see the positive though. Try and enjoy this period of time with your family, and it will be over soon.
Like my mum and stepdad, both essential workers. My brother's been like working from home, but I feel like I've just kind of spent this time kind of on my own.
I made the decision to come home thinking that I'd enjoy life more here and then be able to go back to China in the future. But unfortunately, I came home, and then after a week or two, back into lockdown. So yeah, in hindsight, I maybe made the wrong decision.
My workload has been very manageable. I feel very lucky.
I also have some activities that Bristol, I think, have put on Blackboard for us, and they are language-based activities to help mitigate for the amount of French that we will have missed out on by having to leave early.
With me and 2 friends, we've started an Instagram called Generation Isolation, at Generation Isolation _, and basically we're just featuring loads of people's work, like creative work, like it could be like art or photography, or I don't know, like video making or anything. And we've been like doing a little like interview with them. I think I probably would have gone a bit crazy if I didn't have that.
I've taken up pretty much a new hobby every week during quarantine. Like it started with sewing, and then it was exercising, and then it was scrapbooking, and then it was painting. So I have not just adopted 1 or 2 hobbies, I've adopted about 10. So yeah, that's been fun. That's been good.
I was doing some yoga, just for some peace of mind, very relaxing. Painting as well, which I haven't done since I was in school, so that's been quite fun. I've been running just because normally I do my cardio by playing sports, and I can't do that, so it's quite nice to get out of the house and see my local area, as lovely as Tooting is. Just try to spend some time away from a screen. It's good for you, man. It's good for you.
Now I feel like when I go back to Bristol for my 4th year, there's nothing that's going to kind of make me anxious, or nothing's going to scare me, because I've done that in a foreign country. It doesn't really get harder than that, I guess.
I ended up spending about 5.5 months in France. There's things that are thrown your way that you don't think you could necessarily deal with, the virus being one of them, that you just surprise yourself with, and you make decisions quicker than you ever have done.
So unfortunately, I didn't get the whole experience, but I still value very much the time I had there, and it just makes me hungrier to go back once all of this is over.
When I'm having a slightly sort of down day, or when everything's feeling like it's a bit much, which I think everyone feels like that sometimes, I like to think about appreciating the small things. And also keeping in contact with friends and family that I can't be with right now.
Definitely been good and bad days in lockdown. Sometimes it can feel like this is never going to end, and we're not going to ever be able to go back to normal life. There will be a vaccine, so there are best times ahead. Use this time. When are you ever going to get a period of time ever again in your life where you can have all the time you need to reflect, to learn, to grow as a person? For those of us that are lucky enough to have a roof over our heads, to have a loving family, it's a time that you can spend to connect with them. So just use this time. Use it productively, use it non-productively, whatever you feel. Don't feel pressure to be productive. I have days where I don't do anything, and that's fine. Everyone needs those days. We are living in 2050's history textbook. When students look back at this time, we will be the ones that they are looking back on. Breathe, be in the moment, and spend lockdown however you want to spend lockdown.